Hello, I'm a gust of wind. This is Into the Toad. Talking about going into the toad, implies a location, a destination, a physical place, which it might be. You would have to ask someone who understands it. That is not me. I don't really want to understand it. But I think the best way to explain it can be done just by looking at some common experiences that we all share. So, I mean, if you're out in space and you're looking at planet Earth and you zoom in to a park and you see a human sitting on a bench, you see a creature in an environment. And in that environment, there might be predators and prey, climate, there's going to be dangers, there's going to be things fluctuating, things happening around that creature. It's the way we look at animals in nature. Oh, there's a mountain lion. Well, we know what they are. We know what they do. We know how they respond to things. We don't have to get into the inner workings of the creature to understand the picture that we're looking at. To even understand how things might transpire if this happens, and that's probably going to happen. We humans don't really think we fit into that mold, and things are much more complex because of our thoughts, because of how what we call our mind works. The mind, we would say, is real. The thoughts are real, but when we go to bed at night, we have what we call dreams, and they're not real. In fact, the word dream has come to mean the opposite of real. That's just a dream. That's not real. But we've all been in dreams that certainly feel real. The fear, the joy, sensations, it all seems to happen in there. But we don't call it real. The dream isn't a place. And maybe the toad isn't a place, but it's very real. For me, it's more real than this, where I am now. And to get there, to understand the journey or the destination or the location or whatever, we can look at that man in the park from above, zoomed out, and we can say that man was just told that he has 3 months to live. Went to the doctor and they told him he has in 90 days he'll be dead. And I've been with a loved one who the doctor said that to, and by God, if they weren't accurate. I mean, they knew. It's pretty amazing. So that's a common occurrence in our modern world. How does that picture change with that information? We know that man is sitting in a park, and we know the sun's shining and the birds are singing. It's a pleasant autumn day. Where is he? Is he still in that park? If we've been around the block a few times, and we've been up and down with grief and love and heartache, then maybe we would say that he's really not in that park. He's He's in fear. He's in grief. He's in some kind of disarray. His state has changed. I think marijuana is a common experience. Maybe not as common as alcohol yet, but it probably should take over that spot. It seems to have less dire consequences than alcohol, which for some reason is everywhere all the time, no problems. Marijuana is a little controversial, but obviously it's legal in a lot of places now, and it's become more the norm. And if you've ever taken some marijuana, it takes you to a place. And for example, let's say you take some marijuana and then you sit down and you start thinking about your dream house, your dream lifestyle, which comes to you a lot. How do I get out of where I am and into to the place that will make me happy, to my objective, to my goal, to this thing I'm always driving at? And your thoughts start to focus on what can be done, and you think about the location and the house and how much money you're actually going to need and how much you have. Then you think about your 401k retirement account, and you know that the recent things in the news have made that number that you look at on your screen change, and it's gone down. It's a smaller number now. And you think about that, and you think about all these things that have happened that have made that number go down. I mean, the value of your money change in an adverse way. And some of those things might be instability in the world, or maybe in the country that you're in, or the neighborhood that you're in. The local government is unstable. The state government has become unstable, unreliable, untenable, unpredictable. Maybe the national, maybe the federal structure that keeps things stable and controls everything and lets you go about your day, that has now become unstable. And that's where your thoughts are. That because you're under the influence of marijuana, the thoughts themselves have a little more weight to them. They don't just bounce around in your head as you're driving back and forth to work. And in this mode, your focus has changed. The thoughts become heavy. In fact, they become so heavy that you aren't able to see them as thoughts. You're inside them. You're inundated by them. You're overwhelmed by them. And as they become uncomfortable, you become uncomfortable. You enter what most of us would call anxiety, panic. Your environment hasn't changed. You're still sitting on your couch. But your place has changed. You would say at that moment, you're in a different place than you were 3 hours earlier. And if it becomes worse, quote unquote, worse for you, more frightening, maybe you took too much marijuana, then it gets worse and worse and worse until, people end up going to the hospital and calling for help. They're going through something and they need to get out of it. They can't get themselves out of it. They need help. But they're in the same location. Their mental state is what we're talking about. Their mental state has changed, and yet, even though it's something inside them, it can't be seen from the alien looking down. There's no physicality to it. There's no specific geographic location. And it seems to be just encapsulated inside this human. But all of a sudden, they need help with it. that whatever it is, that location of it now requires aid. As you travel down these thoughts, if it helps to use the analogy of marijuana or LSD or psilocybin. I think we all understand that affects this mental state and it grabs your thoughts. But it's not just affecting your thoughts. There's a physical pleasure in these substances, which is why, one of the reasons why they're popular. The other reason maybe because it does affect this mental state and it can improve and elevate that mental state. Not by flipping a switch, but by putting the user through something as if that train of thought can lead to some kind of better place. You are inundated with panic and fear and instability and uncertainty, and you're helpless and you need help, and you're reaching out to have somebody help you, which most of the time isn't really possible and it's not really a thing. The only thing that's required is patience and time. But at the end of it, and sometimes it's one of those terrible experiences, a pretty common occurrence, that leads to this new place. If you've ever heard anybody talk about being healed with psychedelics, there's, at the end, when they're talking about it, there's always this relief and this new awareness and this new outlook. But it didn't just, it's not that they took the substance and the outlook was turned on. You have to get to it. Just like you have to get to that park to sit on that bench. It is a location. And yet it's invisible. It has no dimension, no weight, no location. But it's real. I ask people who have been healed and have gone from being suicidal and depressed and hopeless to joyful and happy and grateful. This happens all the time. This is a common occurrence. People are in one state and then they're in another. And there's medicines that contribute to this, a variety of them. The reason it's helpful to talk about this with the toad is because of the intensity of that experience. We can't just say, oh, it's like taking a pill, it's like taking your medicine, it's like taking a vitamin, or it's like ingesting some marijuana or some psychedelics, and it helps, and you end up in a better place. We use that phrase all the time. If you meet a friend who's struggled a long time and they've fallen in love and now they're raising a family and a lot of their problems seem to have sorted themselves out, and you say they're in a good place. We treat it as a physical location. We don't respect it as such, just like we don't respect the dreams. They're not real. That's how the crowd mentality views it. That's why there's not sympathy in the same sense as if there is as if you break a bone or get diagnosed with a disease. Then the sympathy is allowed. If you're not in a good place, well, the crowd doesn't want to hear that. It's not real. It's like going to the crowd and telling them about your dreams. Those aren't real. I believe they are real. 100% real. In fact, That travel that we can do with our minds is an untapped ability. We, unfortunately, most often we use it as we're worried about the future. We're depressed about the past. We call that time travel, which is not possible, which is why it's not helpful to do that. So that's not real. But our ability to travel with our minds lets us do it. And you can do it all you want. We all do it. We don't really acknowledge it, but if we're sitting around with our friends and we're talking about this big plan for tomorrow, we are outside of the basics. Oh, we're going to meet at this place at this time. We are talking about time travel. Most anxiety, fear, and depression comes from this behavior, from time traveling. If you are pulled into the present moment, those things don't exist to create the depression, the anxiety, and the fear. They're not here. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. The famous FDR quote is, in my mind, reminding us that the fear itself doesn't exist. It's a sensation, but if you're afraid of dying and it's overtaken your life in a variety of creative ways, it's wasted energy, and it's not real because death is not happening right now. We are dying. It's a process, and we are all in it. But it's like, just being deathly afraid of drowning. You're so afraid of drowning that it just consumes you, even though you're not in the water. That's where we let the fear take us. And it's a place, it's a location. This ability to travel with our thoughts, like in our dreams, it's real. We're there. We can't explain it. But it happened. That's the travel that we're going to get into on the path to happiness, because the happiness is here, right now, in the present moment. And I'm in the park, and the sun is shining, and it's a pleasant autumn day. The happiness exists right here. And there's a group of humans all walking around in this park, and they're not in the happiness. They've traveled away from it. So we have to learn how to travel in our minds to get back to happiness, which is what the universe provides us, which is really why we're here. If there is a why we're here, it's to experience it, to experience all of it. But the default state is the happiness. That's the human condition. Just like it's the animal condition, the insect condition, the tree condition, the ocean condition. That's where things live, in that present moment, charged with energy and potential and power and love. That's really the only thing that's occurring, that's ever occurred on this planet. Anything outside that, except for, yes, you're being attacked by a grizzly bear. Okay, well, now you're not in your default state of happiness. You're struggling to survive. which you're equipped to do. Not always equipped to succeed and to win and to move on to the next one, but you know how to fight back with weapons, with savvy. We figure things out. In the moment, we respond. And when that moment's done, we go back to our happiness. So we have to understand this ability to travel, to understand if whatever is possible to understand with the medicine, with the toad, because that's how we're going to get there. And it's, even though it's right here, that I am right here in the park among the happiness, but I have mentally traveled to another location. To get back to this happiness, it's not a far trip. It shouldn't have to be. I mean, how do you measure distance in thoughts? How do you measure time in a dream? This is the realm that we're getting into. The dimensions are hard to describe. The rules are a little different than this calculation of gravity and heat and potential energy and angles. We love to play with that. How fast will this bowling ball go if I roll it down this 45-degree decline? Well, we're all over that. Those rules don't apply in the toad, and they don't apply in reality. Reality allows for this mental travel. Reality allows for dreams. To get to this present location and this present moment will require the acceptance of that reality. That there is nothing fixed here. There are no permanent rules. That a comet can come out of the sky right now and hit this planet and wipe out 99.9% of life on it, just like that. But not only is that possible, that is something that has happened before several times and something that will happen again. So it's not just possible. It's reality. That is going to happen. Everything on this planet is going to get wiped out. It's not something to sit down and be afraid of or something to wonder if it's actually true. It is real. In this reality, nothing is fixed. Nothing. Not the giant oak tree, not the Pacific Ocean, not the Earth itself, not the Milky Way galaxy, not the universe. There is nothing fixed. And there are no limits to speed and distance. None. They really don't even exist. Look at the speeds that we talk about when we talk about celestial bodies, when we talk about chemical reactions, when we talk about photons and light, waves of light. We talk about the dimensions of the universe as best we can detect. Distance and speed. Come on. We're getting into comic book descriptions here. The science wants to say, no. It's 1.7 trillion light years away. Okay, what does that mean? If you lived your whole existence here on planet Earth and you never knew that the phrase 1.7 trillion light years existed, you would be no better or worse for it. It does not matter. What matters is the fact that you cannot comprehend that distance, just like you cannot comprehend that speed. That's not for you. And you can focus your entire life on the calculations you will never comprehend it. A good scientist will tell you it's not comprehensible, that they don't comprehend it. We have to accept that as we enter this realm. We have to accept it's not ours to understand. There are no dimensions. There are no limits. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is permanent. And you are not in control of any of it. None of it. So viewing this man sitting on the bench in the park and observing him taking this trip to happiness, traveling invisibly in his mind, in his mental state, to achieve the present moment and the default state of happiness, which is his birthright, we might not see a lot of activity. But for him, it will be a different story. And that journey that he will undertake without us being able to witness it is our journey back to reality. It's the journey of a mentally ill person becoming healed. It's the journey of an oblivious person becoming aware. It's the journey of a child growing up. Growing up is what we're talking about. Because the first step, well, there's a couple of first steps, I guess. Well, I was going to say the first step is taking responsibility for the current state of things. This universe and this planet and this ecosystem have all been operating without your involvement. You can't stem the tides and change the flow of the oceans. You have no control. At least acknowledge that. So your state of being, your little universe, has been created by you. That encompasses everything in your world right now. All of it. All of the relationships, all of the hardships, all of the uncomfortable situations, all of the disillusionment, unhappiness, depression, fear, anxiety, rage, bitterness. That's all you. You can't get more than 2 steps on this journey before you accept that, or you will begin to experience the kind of turmoil that will separate you from your convictions. So you have to take these steps, and it can be a simple step as I accept and I acknowledge, or it can be a battle to the death. And you won't really have much say in how that goes or control over it either, because the forces at work are beyond the comprehension of your words in your mind. This is all deeper than, the whole thing's deeper than that. The analogy of the mind and the thoughts will introduce us to the possibility of this world. But if we've lived our lives just knowing our mind as the thing where the words are and the thoughts are, we have some deeper steps to take. The other first step I think about is one time when I came out of the medicine, and it was a joyous emergence. Just laughter and light and love and giddiness, because I had just been given a glimpse of myself from the objective of reality, of the truth. as if someone else was watching me and looking at me and evaluating me. And the whole thing was a joke. Any notion I had of myself in that realm of me being this or being that or not being this or not being that struck me so funny in that moment of emergence that I could not stop laughing. And when I finally could speak, I just said to Eric, I said, I'm a joke. And he smiled and he said, that's the first step to wisdom. And it's not acknowledging that you're a joke and you're not important among your friends. And this is all happening, again, beyond the thoughts that you know. In that realm. We know that you can travel in that realm. We know that. But we don't know anything about it. All we know about the dreams is that they're not real and that some freakish hippies talk about how they mean something. They're ominous. They're portentous. They react to things in our life. They reveal trauma. They show us the way. Whatever. That's not accepted. The quality and dimensions of your dreams don't come into play in your day-to-day life for most of us. And you can go to someone and give them money and they can talk about your dreams with you. But in general, if you're out at the bar, no one wants to hear it. And if you're at work, well, it's going to take a back seat to more important things. But it's the surface of where we're going. And it's the surface of everything. It's the introduction of everything. This path to happiness is a journey from a fictitious state, a construct that we make to the present moment. The trip to the present moment in a place where distance and speed don't exist. It's not bound by those dimensions. So what is that journey going to look like for you? I don't know. I can tell you what it looks like for me. What it has looked like so far. And the ways in which this journey benefits me as a human sitting on the bench in that park. Well, number one, that obtaining that present moment, that default state of happiness, getting a glimpse of it can change the course of your life. It certainly did for me. I didn't know that was available until the toad gave it to me. The toad showed it to me. And it just gave me the tiniest taste of it. I like to think now as if the toad is not really separate from me. I know this. So I phrase things, I give credit to the toad, but I know it's me. So my clever human mind, when starting down this journey, it didn't have to, but it wanted to make it dramatic. Here's enough to continue the next step. We're entering a battlefield. We're going to need sustenance. We're going to need a supply line. The battles are difficult, and we don't know the outcomes. That's why they're called battles. So I can look back on this if I was looking at myself beginning this journey, then that's how I would see things working. I would see the human recognizing a place it needed to get to continue to be a human. The road I was on was not conducive to anything except alcoholism, addiction, misery, and death. It was empty. It was hollow. There was no love. Because there was no pleasure, because there was no joy. A glimpse of the destination here, the present moment, the happiness, just a glimpse, just one breathful. Just realigned everything. Oh, okay. Now I see what actually is available. How do I get there? What is it? Where was it? How do I get back? That's the journey. That's the into the toad part. This is how we travel. And because it's our minds, it's internal, an inward voyage, and because it's our minds, which we know, because our minds give us our thoughts and they help us make decisions and they give us our dreams, we kind of know them. We think of them as us, my mind, my state of being, myself, although that word will become more complicated as you take this journey. I mean, the self really is the only thing that does exist, and yet we're talking about a journey into the self. Like as if there was something separate from ourselves that could take the journey. That's really the contradiction and why there's no such thing as self-improvement. As Alan Watts would say, well, who's going to do the improving? The self that's existing right now is going to improve itself to be a different self? How can it improve itself? It is itself. There's a problem with that. And it lies in this powers we have ascribed to the mind. Dreams are not real. We already know that, but the mind is real, because when you want something, you really want it. And when someone makes you angry, they really make you angry. We give that a lot of credo when it's something impulsive that we want, it's involved in our little universe, and all of a sudden the mind is very real. But if our friend comes in and says they had a bad dream last night, we say, well, that's not even real. Don't bother me with it. And this, I don't know of another way outside of the toad to take this journey. I do know about breath work and yoga and meditation. I've practiced all of these things, and I have gotten a lot of benefits from them. But mostly for me, they provide something reminiscent of some of the toad experience. That's what I get at. Whenever I enter into any state of mind other than the one that is talking now, I go into the toad. I identify it as the toad, as this place that I'm trying to get to. It's the only other location. Traveling down this path, we will have to reconcile our reality with this new realm. You can't stay in both at the same time. So whereas other laws of physics apply where you are now, doesn't apply to that fighter jet, for example, will not apply after your first step down this path. Things will happen that don't seem possible, and the things that you're convinced are permanent fixtures of reality will no longer be there. And yet it's a real place. It's so real that we are opening the door to where we will go when we die. This is the path of travel into what's coming next, whatever that is. There's no other way to travel there. And there is another place coming. That much I do know. This whole notion that everything that around us and yourself are in fact some fluke of chemical reactions and time and it ain't a fluke. It's real. And the substance, the nature, the power. It is not a once and done. It's not an accident. There are none. It's by design. And I believe the objective of that design is to be in this place that we're talking about, is to arrive at that moment. A lot of times coming out of the medicine, you are in that moment. In fact, every time for me coming out of medicine, I am in that moment. I am in the moment. And it's difficult to explain it because it's so difficult to get there. In order to get to that moment, you have to relinquish all control. And it's more than just laying back and saying, okay, bring it on. Let's just let it happen. I'm ready to roll with it. That helps, but we're going much deeper than what your conscious thoughts can detect or even understand. And as soon as you start to get deeper than your thoughts can understand, the battle begins right there. And speed and distance don't apply, but there is a intensity that I've heard people describe, which I think it might be real, is that we ourselves are traveling at the speed of light in that place. It feels like that, if such a thing can be felt. And all of these things we're holding on to, this entire construct which we cannot even begin to comprehend just by deciding to. You may say, oh, no, I agree. I've lost myself in my thoughts and the rules of society and humanity, and I've just been in the rat race. I've been chasing the money. But that does not even broach the surface. What you're holding on to right now is everything you know. All of it. You're convinced of all of it. You're not talking about it, but you know you can walk on this ground and the ground is going to stay there. You're not going to float away. You know that. You know the sun is a little warm today, but it's not going to kill you. You know that. But you really don't. The curtain can drop for you right now. The sun can explode right now. These are possible things, even in our realm of science and words and language. Ask an expert. Well, yeah, it's possible. They'll talk down at you. Well, it's possible, but it's not going to happen. You're okay. Don't worry about it. But it is possible, isn't it? That's the realm we're going into. These things are going to occur, some form of them, that you will not be able to accept. You certainly won't like it. Because for me, to get to that present moment, even if it's just that glimpse, I can't let go to get there. I have to be disconnected by force. And maybe it is myself applying that force. as I get deeper, that does seem to be the case, that there was really no battle except the battle of myself. Not wanting to accept that none of this is real. That's mental illness. This world isn't real. That job isn't real. Your neighbor isn't real. These types of thoughts are not acceptable, and there's a whole bookshelf that people can use to explain why we're wrong and what medication we need and things like that. But they are true. As you go down this path and begin to see what you really are, you'll start to get a glimpse of what you've built around yourself. And I require that disconnection because I don't want to accept this new place, this new realm, this new reality. Even though it's beautiful, when you get to experience it, it's right now. It's here. Everything, the colors are brighter, the sensations are more intense, but it's still this right now, this park. So there never really was anything to do. I didn't have to change, really. Because now I'm in it, it's all here, and it's all bright and shimmering and full of love and joy, and that's what's flowing through me like a river. I can feel it flowing through me, providing nourishment and sustenance and energy and comfort and power. It's all flowing. There are no words. There are no thoughts. There's just this man sitting on a bench in a park in perfection and in perfect balance with his environment, with himself. It's so simple. The last time I came out of medicine was the most powerful introduction to this present moment. It was so, I will never be what I was before, ever again. Which is fine. Remember, you're under no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. None. That's another concept we should really, especially considering the amount of unhappiness that exists. And yet all of these people that are unhappy are scared to death of changing. So you should take the toad. It can provide happiness. Yeah, but it's going to change me. I don't want to change. I even had a good friend of mine not that long ago. I called him and said, listen, just want to let you know the toad ceremonies are happening again. Here's the details. And he said, I'd love to. I know what you're saying about it, but, I'm making such good money right now, I can't risk it. I did not laugh. I did not disrespect him. I said, okay, it's your choice. I just want to let you know that it's available. That's what I want to do, is let people know that happiness is available and can be acquired through the toad, because that's how I acquired it. It's my only agenda. I don't want money. I certainly don't want recognition. I don't want anybody to know who I am, ever. That's why I am Augusta Wind. And that name came about from my dear friend who killed himself when we were very young. He introduced me to the psychedelic world. And we were just kids, but it showed me enough to be afraid of it. And it took an entire adult lifetime to get involved with it and to enter into the toad dimension, this dimension we're talking about, which is not a psychedelic dimension. It's an anti-psychedelic dimension. It's the actual thing that's here. There's no mandalas to trip out on. Okay, it's real. And that last time for me coming out, I was in reality, and my system was so overwhelmed by the beauty and the power of it. My limbs were shaking. I couldn't speak, but I was in it. I could smell it. I could feel it. I could see it. Everything pulsated with energy. And everything was perfect. All of it. Forever. My friend who killed himself dove into the deep end of psychedelics from when we were 16, 17 years old. And he was doing things with psychedelics that just had the whole town talking about it. Like, oh my God, did you hear what he did? How many did he take? He climbed what while under the influence of that stuff? You know, in the middle of the night, camping out by the railroad bridge, steel girdered bridge, waiting until it got dark, dropping 13 hits of Egyptian ants, which was a common or a popular brand of LSD in the 90s. Smoking some bong hits and waiting for everything to get ramped up and kicked in. And then climb that bridge and run across those girders back and forth, wearing moccasins. I loved the way he approached life and the way he looked at life and the way he did not accept what anybody told him about anything. That's where all his troubles came about. And I'll never understand exactly what happened and why he had to die early. I do believe he had to. I don't think things are accidental or that there could be a better way. I accept things as they are. One of the lessons I learned from him. And one day we were talking, and he said he had an idea for a book that he was going to write. He didn't really know exactly what it was going to be about or when he was going to do it, but he knew the name of the author that he was going to ascribe to it. He knew his pseudonym. It was A Gust of Wind. And that's who I am now. And after that last toad experience, when my limbs stopped shaking and I was able to walk again, I don't know if I would have looked happy in that moment, but I can tell you that is the most happiness I have ever experienced. My whole journey is engineered to get back there. How do I get back there? Not so much how do I explain it? What is it? How does it work scientifically? These questions hold no interest to me anymore. How do I get to that location in this realm that we're talking about where dimensions don't exist? There is no location. How do I find it? Because it's not the only thing that exists in this realm. As you will learn in the journey to it through yourself, there's all kinds of experiences happening here. All kinds. Good and bad, well, those words won't really apply. But in general, heavy experiences. You're not walking in the park anymore. You're in reality. And reality, and you should know from looking around at our universe and our planet, it doesn't fuck around. It's got fangs and venom, camouflage, speed, and a lack of compunction. It ain't worried about your feelings. Get exposed in a cold environment without the right clothing and shelter, and you can get a little taste of the power. There's a lot of power. There's a huge force at work here. And you're going to be introduced to it. And for me, I have come to believe that it's here for my benefit. That its nature is love. And that it won't hurt me. But the word hurt, I'm taking some liberties with. because it has hurt me in the sense that I've been frightened, I've experienced death, I've panicked. All these things are part of the journey and are necessary. They exist in contrast to our destination. When I walked down that hill after the last time, the light that I was walking in was in direct contrast to the darkness that I already know. There's no other way to explain it. I don't know what kind of light you can experience or what kind of darkness, but I do know it's all potential energy. So if you are the biggest piece of shit in the world, you are sitting on a reservoir of goodness. You haven't tapped into it. They do not exist without each other. I was in the stark contrast to the darkest experiences of my life. That I was on the other side of that coin. And like I say all the time, it was almost too much. It was perfect, of course. And the first thing I was able to say when I got back down into the rest of the humans, half of whom had already done the trip that day, and the rest were nervously waiting their turn to find out where they were going to go on this next step of their journey. Nobody knows. Everybody has a respectful fear. The power of this thing, even if it is yourself, you will learn to respect it. You will have reverence for it. You will, in one episode, you will understand why we treat this medicine the way we do. It's not a toy. It's the essence of life itself. It's our path to that destination that we all want to be at. When I finally got down around them, the first thing I said was, I have to change my name. I can no longer spend another minute with that old identity. It's gone. And not in some, it took over, I'm brainwashed, it's none of that applies. What's gone is the bullshit that I had constructed. The nonsense is gone. The fiction is gone. This realm, where we're calculating angles and velocities and pretending that we know things, that's gone. I don't need to believe in that. That's not helpful. I believe in what I know. And I know happiness exists. And I know it's got nothing to do with the rules and regulations we have built for ourselves here. All of this is a distraction from what you're entitled to. And it may be maliciously constructed. You can say, if all the humans would understand what they're entitled to, the whole system would grind to a halt. How do we get people to be quote unquote productive members of society when they know that bliss belongs to them? They own it. As difficult as some of these experiences have been, it is always worth it to get a glimpse of this place. Always. That's why I keep going back. And it's hard. But that's how it works. How could it be worthwhile if it wasn't? If it would get you to this place without effort, it wouldn't be a medicine, it would be a drug. And there would be a catch. Eric says cocaine robs you of your time. It's taking from your future. It may make you feel good, but it's taking that, it's giving that to you from your future happiness. And I've been up and down that road with that drug, and I think that's accurate. I think that's true. this realm of happiness, this location which we can get to by traveling in our minds, is a font of happiness. It's a natural spring of pleasure. It's endless, it's bottomless, it's limitless, it's infinite. There's no hangover. It's not robbing you of your future. It's where you belong. It's where we all belong. I believe it's where the animals live. And it's where our spirits go when this curtain drops here. Everyone's experiences will be different, but we all, in general, all the people I've talked to who have taken this initiative, whether it's once or 100 times, doesn't really matter. There is an understanding that the journey from life to death is taken on this path. This is how we travel. And that's enough right there. If you can experience that and understand that and come to believe that, what else would you be doing with your time except exploring this path? The Toad lets us explore it relatively risk-free. And it's funny to say it that way, but I say it that way because you're going to come back. Eric will bring you back. And with all this newly acquired power and insight and perspective and joy and understanding of what you really are, it's low risk in the sense that it works. It's not low risk in the sense that it's free. It is danger. Our concept of danger and fear and death and it's convoluted. If there really is no risk in death, and how could there be? It's the whole system. It's driving the whole thing. Of course it's perfect. I mean, we have butterflies camouflaged to look like poisonous snakes on this planet. We have animals so large you can drive a car through their artery. We have creatures that can travel over 200 miles an hour while using vision that outmatches anything we can artificially create to capture their prey. You don't have to look far. It's miracle upon miracle upon miracle upon miracle all around you. You think that whatever constructed this thing that we are made a mistake with death? Made it dangerous? Made it too scary? It's going to be scary. Look at the relationships around us. It's scary to us because death is not acceptable to us. Death is terrible and oh, it's so cold and dark and oh, or it's nothing. It doesn't. I'm just not going to exist, and I am taking no responsibility for myself or anything I ever do or say. Those folks will never get to step one, which is acknowledging the world you are in is your creation, all of it. So the concept of scary and dangerous will change. And it's not an easy change. There's a lot of comfort in what we know. And becoming uncomfortable with the unknown, or becoming comfortable with the unknown, I know some people who qualify as that. And Eric is the top of that food chain. He's comfortable in this unknowable place. But that doesn't mean it's easy for him either. He has told me it's heavy. That's what it is. So no matter how much you evolve, if you think this is going to be some ego thing where you can become really good at it, or better than other people, or this whole line of thought that we use everywhere, you try to apply it to this and it's not going to work. Because you're never going to get to a place where you take the medicine and the medicine tells you, hey, you're good. You already made it. Look at you. Now, I have had experiences in medicine which were just light and joy. That is true. But I had to show up with my fear. I didn't know what was coming. The medicine knows what we need. It gives you what you need. And I am beginning to think that it's us. The medicine is me. It's coming from me. It might not even be us. The medicine itself, the inhaling of a substance, might just trigger something in us to take over from there. That's possible. I don't really need to see a scientific report to get to the bottom of that. I don't care enough. But it is us. And what have I learned about myself going time and again to face myself? I learned I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. And yet, I'm brave. All at the same time. And how can you have bravery without fear? How can you have courage without fear? Right? That the brave one isn't the one who doesn't understand the consequences. The brave one understands how dangerous it is. And shows up anyway. And I've learned that about myself. I've also learned I'm a pretty fierce warrior when it comes to this stuff. I thought it was the opposite when I started. When I got in with my friend and we started messing with psychedelics, and he just started leaps and bounds beyond anything I would have thought was possible. I did one hit and I was shown something that just rocked me. It was too much. Something was there that I would need to get into, and I couldn't do it. So I would have thought that I was the weakest of everybody. Did not have the courage and the tenacity that would be required for this journey, and yet that is what's required for this journey. People who think that they do understand or that they are immune to our frailties. We see these people all over the place, and I've seen some of them take the medicine and fight it, argue with it. And they don't get to where I got to, whatever that is, in terms of progression and the location, which don't really exist. I don't know what they get. I don't know what anybody else gets. I love to talk about it. Me and my friends all love to. We don't talk about anything else. I'll put it that way. I'm going to be getting married. That's 2 sentences of the conversation. They're happy for me. That's great. Now let's talk about the toad. Happiness is allowed. Love is everywhere. Of course I'm going to be getting married. I'm in a river of love. I am love. I'm very fortunate to find the person that I want to be with, a person who doesn't know the medicine but knows happiness, from a different culture where happiness is described as the birthright. I think that medicine is important for America, for the West, I should say, because it's medicine, and we are the sickest. We are the most ill. We might have all the stuff, but it is not doing us much good. lived in Mexico for a while, and seeing the entitled, rich, spoiled Americans stumbling through. Just a font of disrespect to everyone and everything around them. It all emanates from this, from a lack of understanding of what this realm is, a lack of humility, and you will be humbled. Take the first step. Welcome to humility. Welcome to being overpowered. Welcome to being inconsequential. And when I say that word, it does not carry enough weight. There is nothing of consequence in you. Nothing. You're here and you're gone. It's a flash. You will not be remembered. You will not be remembered. I will not be remembered. Perfectly comfortable with that. What's remembered? Tell me what you know about the society of people that built the wooden structure that was discovered in Africa that's 500,000 years old. What are they remembered? There's a reason that we're not going to be remembered. Because that's not what's happening here. Memory doesn't exist. Feelings exist. Sensations exist. Legacy? No. I mean, where are you going to put it? In what format is it going to survive? It's ridiculous, the whole concept. And we base our entire lives around it. From the Greeks to the Romans to us, it's been the focus. The legacy, the importance. It's not going to happen. That will, I think that's clear in the first step. Getting into this realm requires a commitment, but you don't need to prepare. There is nothing you can prepare, at least when it comes to the medicine. Going into the toad, you can prepare all you want. It is not going to have an effect. The forces that you're going to enter are not concerned with your physical body, your ability that you think you have to meditate and focus and whatever yarn you're spinning for yourself. It's of no consequence. It won't even exist in this realm. Which is why it's so important to put into perspective what we think is important. Because what I've learned so far is that there is nothing important. There's my experience right now. There's love. Love is always there. It always survives. It's the only thing, I think, that is maintained in this realm. Into and out of it, the love exists. It's uninterrupted. That's why I believe that it's the nature of life is love. It's the only force that's actually generating all this energy. And we can tap into it a little bit and live a happy life forever, as long as we get. Or we can dive into it and find out what there is to find out. Because this is where that information is. It's not in this realm. It's in this path. It's indescribable. It's ineffable. But we all know it. If you're alive, you know it. You've had dreams. You've had thoughts. That's where it is. And it's glorious. And And some people may just slip into it and appreciate it and move on. It might not be a big deal. For me, it's everything. Maybe it's because of my forays into the darkness, down into the pit before I climbed up and saw the sun. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm grateful for me, for stepping up to my life, for meeting it head on. And for whatever, I think of my mom and my dad bringing me in, of course, but it doesn't take long to realize that's really not where you're coming from. They had to come from somewhere too, and those people did. And what is this? What is it? I don't know. I will never know. But I am in awe, and I am grateful. And why they made it so beautiful and smelling so good and the food tasting so good and the women so beautiful and the sun, the warmth of the sun and laying in the grass and these sensations. I don't know why they did it this way. Maybe I did it because everything seems to suit me perfectly. It's all designed for me. And if it's something you have to exist in and endure, I apologize for that if I'm the one who put it all together. But it's perfect if you just let it. Just shut the fuck up. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. Nothing. So can you just sit in this place? I think if you do, it will become something else. When the outside world and the inside world come together, is how Alan Watts describes it. And he knew. He didn't have the toad. I always wonder how that transpired and what he would think of it. Oh, man, to be able to walk up the hill with him, do it, and then talk about it for a month. Boy, I hope that's one of the experiences I have in this realm. It's perfection, and it's all you. And when you get through the fear and the discomfort and the disorientation and the pride swallowing reality that you aren't anything, you're never going to be anything, you don't matter, you don't count. It's worth it because it's real. It's in this realm is where reality lives. It's hiding from us, or we're hiding from it. Either way, there is a path to get there. Everyone's path is their own. Go ahead and start taking this path and come complain to me. I'll laugh right in your face. This is nature's rules. Forget your code of conduct bullshit. You're going to endure what you're going to endure. And you can reject it all you want. If you think you can stand up to this force, go ahead. It has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with you. In my journey, all it's done is remove the bitterness and rage and anger that I held to those people who loved me, who I never got along with, to all those difficult relationships and constraints and friction and just confusing anger, resentment. I learned that was all me. I had reasons attached to it. I had excuses. I had a list of them. They're gone. I can't point anywhere except at me. I can't look anywhere except inside. That's where this realm is, and it's the only one that exists for me now. I can come out here and I can play this game out here, and it's a game, and it's fun as hell, and it's almost just a hobby at this point. I'm gearing up for my death. That's coming. Can I be prepared? Can I appreciate it? And therefore appreciate this? That everything emanates from that. Everything emanates from focusing on the death first. All the joy, the wisdom, it all comes from that move. And you can't say it, you can't tell your friend you're doing it, you can't write it down. You have to face it, and then fear it, and then face it anyway. And accept it anyway. And start chipping away at all these chains and shackles and ropes. They keep going and going and going, and it's relief to get rid of them and to feel good and to feel light, but you're never there. It just keeps going. I like to think there's a day when I'll go into the medicine and it will just be joy for me, but I can say that out loud, and I can see Eric's face if I would say it to him, which I never would. It's not how it's supposed to go. That's people talk about seeing rainbows and seeing the light and just having love and all that, and it is part of it. For me, it's in the emergence. It's in the afterglow. But it's talked about. I mean, that's what when a nervous group of people are getting into this, if they are talking at all, they're hopefully thinking that that's what's in store for them. Even though the most rewarding is the darkness, that's where you get the joy and the love from, usually, for me. I still would, when it's time, I want it to be easy. I want it to be joy. I want it to be rainbows and light. And I said so much when it came out last year, and Eric and Chad were sitting around meditating quietly while I was emerging. And it was difficult. And it was a battle. And I didn't survive it. But I emerged nonetheless. And I caught my breath. And then my sense of humor returned, as it always does. And I said to Chad, when is it going to be rainbows for me? And he, without hesitating, he said, that is your rainbow. You were just in your rainbow. Welcome. Accept it. Stop thinking anything should be something else. Nothing works that way. After my father died and I had this wave of grief rush over me in the middle of the night, and I just said to myself, I wish things were different. And I meant the whole life, the whole dynamic, the whole structure, everything that had happened. I see potential for better things, I thought. And when I said those words out loud to myself, I wish things were different, it struck me as funny, and I started laughing, and I haven't felt that way since. I know wherein lies my struggle. I'm always wishing things were different. And you know what? They're not. Any expectation, any preference, any desire, that's in this realm of fantasy, where physics exists, where astronomy exists. They don't exist. Things aren't different. Things are not going to be different. If you're brave enough to see things as they are, the entire game changes. Your existence as a human is altered forever. You will become familiar with gratitude. You won't need things to be changed. You will be grateful for exactly as they are, even when they're not perfect for you, for whatever that means. See things for what they are and see yourself for what you are. You're not perfect either. So maybe you're not wishing things were different. Maybe you're wishing you were different. And you're not. And going to some retreat isn't going to make you different. Listening to some guru isn't going to make you different. A yoga pose isn't going to make you different. Acceptance won't make you different. But it will make you whole. And when you find that, you won't be asking for difference anymore. You're whole. You know the realm where the happiness exists. You know that it's real. And you know that you're real. And that is the only thing you will ever need to know.